You won't believe what happened when this Karen decided to plug her camper into my barn without asking. It all started on a quiet morning when I was just minding my own business. Out of nowhere, this woman shows up and asks if she can use my electricity to charge her camper. Now, I'm no stranger to helping out, but something about her request didn't sit right with me. The more she insisted, the more I started to get suspicious. I knew I had to be careful. My barn's electrical system is old and not meant to handle large loads like that. But Karen wasn't having it. She just plugged her camper in, and I had to make a tough choice. Should I say something? Should I step in and risk a confrontation? Well, I did, and things quickly escalated. Without going into too much detail, let's just say things didn't go as she planned. Before I knew it, her camper's battery was fried, and that wasn't all. She missed her whole trip, and all I could do was watch as her frustration grew. What happens next? Will she blame me? How far will she go to get back at me? You won't want to miss the next part of this crazy story. Stay tuned. I still remember the look on her face when the camper wouldn't start. It was a mix of disbelief and anger. She tried to turn the key several times, as if somehow that would magically fix whatever went wrong. But the camper was dead, and I knew exactly why. Her lack of understanding about how the electrical systems worked had just cost her everything. But here's where it gets complicated. You see, Karen wasn't exactly the type to take responsibility for her actions. She started yelling, demanding that I pay for the damages. She claimed I had no right to stop her from charging her camper, even though I repeatedly told her that the setup wasn't safe. I tried to explain that the barn's old wiring couldn't handle that kind of load, but it was clear she wasn't hearing any of it. She was too caught up in her own version of events. I felt the tension rising as she kept making threats, saying she was going to report me to the authorities. But I wasn't about to back down. The last thing I needed was someone coming into my property, using my electricity without permission, and then trying to turn the situation around on me. So I stood my ground, but I had no idea just how far she'd go to make me pay for the mess she'd gotten herself into. Would she go to the authorities? Would she try to drag me through a lawsuit? My nerves were on edge as the situation continued to unfold. As Karen's threats grew louder, I couldn't help but feel trapped. The more she ranted, the more I realized this wasn't just about the camper. This was about power, about her belief that she could take whatever she wanted and have it all go her way. She wasn't the first person I'd encountered like this, but something about her energy made it feel different. She wasn't just upset. She was determined to make me regret not giving her what she wanted. Her voice echoed in the barn as she threatened to take me to court, telling me that I was responsible for her ruined trip. I could see how her frustration was clouding her judgment, but I wasn't the one who messed up here. I tried to warn her, but she kept insisting. I wasn't about to apologize for doing the right thing, even if it meant facing the consequences of her anger. I started to wonder if I'd made the right choice. Should I have just let her charge her camper and avoided this mess altogether? Maybe I was too hard on her. But deep down, I knew I couldn't have just sat by and watched her blow a fuse in my barn. That could have caused real damage. The more I thought about it, the more I realized how many things could have gone wrong if I'd allowed it. And yet, as the day wore on, something strange started to happen. Her attitude shifted. She wasn't just angry anymore, she was almost calculating. It was like she was figuring out her next move. The way she looked at me, almost like a game of chess, made me uneasy. What was she planning? Was this just about the camper, or was there something bigger at play here? As the hours passed, Karen's behavior took a strange turn. She went from yelling and demanding compensation to pacing back and forth, muttering to herself. It was almost like she was plotting something, and the more I watched her, the more unsettled I became. The air between us thickened, and every time she glanced at me, I could sense that she was holding something back, something far more dangerous than just a ruined trip. I was trying to keep calm, but it was hard. She kept taking out her phone, typing something on it, then looking at me with a cold stare. Every time she did this, I felt the tension rise. Was she looking up ways to escalate things? Was she contacting someone to make her next move? I didn't know, but I had a sinking feeling that the worst was yet to come. Then, just when I thought I might have a moment of peace, Karen did something that made my heart race. She pulled out a piece of paper from her bag and handed it to me without saying a word. It was a letter. And when I took it from her, I saw the words legal action clearly printed at the top. My stomach twisted. It wasn't just a threat anymore. She was serious. This wasn't about a ruined trip. She wanted something from me, and I had no idea what she was really after. The letter warned me that she would file a formal complaint and take me to court for damages. But there was something about the way she handed it to me, so calm, almost too calm, that made me think there was more behind this. Was she trying to intimidate me, or was there another layer to her plan that I hadn't yet seen? I stood there, holding the letter in my hand, my mind racing. I needed to think fast, but what could I do now? If she went through with this, everything was at stake. Would I lose my property? Would my reputation be destroyed? The pressure was suffocating, and I knew I was standing on the edge of something that could change everything. Just as I was about to ask her what this was all about, I heard a car pull up behind the barn. The sound was unmistakable, a loud, expensive engine, and the tires crunched on the gravel. I turned around, and my heart skipped a beat when I saw a sleek black SUV parked just outside. Karen didn't seem surprised, but the chill in the air grew heavier. She didn't move an inch, but her eyes followed the car as a tall man stepped out. He was dressed in a sharp suit, his movements smooth and confident. He walked towards us with purpose, completely ignoring me as he made his way straight to Karen. I watched, bewildered, as they exchanged a few quiet words, and then the man turned to me, his expression cold and businesslike. "Mr. Thompson," he said, his voice sharp, as if he already knew everything about me. "My client here has informed me that you are refusing to compensate her for the damages caused to her camper." He didn't wait for me to respond before continuing. "I am here to make sure we resolve this issue promptly. You understand the consequences of not complying with her requests, don't you?" The words hit me like a ton of bricks. This wasn't just some angry camper anymore. This wasn't just a simple misunderstanding. This was something far more coordinated, and I had no idea how deep it ran. Karen wasn't just a random person I had crossed paths with. She had a team, and they were already in motion, ready to turn my world upside down. I stood frozen for a second, trying to make sense of it all. Had she planned this from the start? Did she already have this lawyer on standby, knowing exactly what she was doing? My mind raced as the stakes shot up higher than I could have imagined. What was she really after? Was this about money, revenge, or something else entirely? The man didn't wait for my response, his eyes scanning me as if he were waiting for me to back down. I could feel the walls closing in. This wasn't just about a broken battery anymore. This was a fight I wasn't prepared for. I could feel the weight of the moment bearing down on me, the pressure rising with every second of silence. The lawyer's eyes stayed locked on mine, waiting for me to crumble or back down. Karen stood beside him, her expression unreadable now, as if she were in control of the whole situation. My mind was racing, but there was no clear way out. It felt like the world had suddenly closed in around me. But then something unexpected happened. I glanced at the paper in my hand, the letter that had once seemed like the key to my downfall, and I noticed something odd. The legal language seemed off, a little too generic. It wasn't written by a real lawyer, not one I'd ever seen. A sinking feeling hit me. I couldn't help but look up at the man in the suit, his calm, confident demeanor now starting to feel more like a performance. "You're not her lawyer," I said, the words coming out before I could stop them. "You're just some guy she hired to scare me." The man's face faltered for just a second, but it was enough. That split second of hesitation told me everything I needed to know. He wasn't a lawyer at all. In fact, he wasn't even a professional. He was a hired actor, playing a role in a twisted game Karen had orchestrated. Karen's face went pale as I called her bluff. The calm, calculating look in her eyes disappeared, replaced by a flash of panic. "What are you talking about?" she stammered, her hands trembling.